Like every day we have about an hour of new things, and there isn't really like a lot of labs in here. Okay, so we can work on the project that we have in the MVC course. Then once we start like the new material for the day, you can work on uh, the calculator project of this one. Okay, so it's a pretty special course. Just somehow I relax in the middle. Okay, you will have 2 weeks, two weeks vacation now, around 2 weeks after this week. Okay, you know that, right? Like we will stop for 2 weeks
Yeah.
until the beginning of September. But for example, the next group they won't have. So this math course comes like right in the middle of the program where like we study like a simple thing just to relax a bit from the whole MPC and database stuff. Okay,
So I have
so
a question about the vacation. So we can. How about the last Friday for the last week? Because as you see in the schedule, we need to take class this week, this day.
yeah,
So you're going to start a new course or something like that this day.
yeah. Well, it will be the start of a new course, yes, but I will see if I can speak with the management if we can make it Monday, but I really can't control this thing. So I
Okay.
can ask, and now like nothing is very clear now. Like, are we coming back? Are we starting from like if it's remotely, it will be easier. Like
Okay.
we can like
Mega
change
agree.
time easier. Yeah, but if it's like on site, then making the whole class take a day off would be much harder. But we'll see how it goes. Like until then, and of course we will be on touch on Slack. And so if there's anything new came up or anything,
Okay, I got it.
you would okay. But
Okay.
I'll do my best. Like I know some of you they will be maybe traveling or something. So like they would like to take those extra 2 days and
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, and maybe you need to like book a ticket or something, but it's really hard to give you like
But
a
maybe the class you can if we have class, you can teach so many optional class like light
yeah. This is
introduction.
also an idea. Like if they refused to give us a day off, we can have just a review class, for example,
Okay, that's
without
good. Thank
starting a new one. Okay, because when we start a new one, that's like the most important thing. Okay, well, we'll see. It depends on how many of us wants this. Okay, so let's start a new project. Okay, and we want to search for the desktop part. And the one we want is called Windows Forms app.NET Framework. Okay, so choose the desktop part. You have like the most common ones are Windows Forms app, okay, .NET Framework, and WPF, Windows Presentation Foundation. So WPF is very similar to what we will study now, but WPF makes nicer stuff. And of course, it's a different way of programming, but it makes those cool buttons and cool tools and stuff. It's much more powerful when it comes to presentation. Okay, so let's call this like calculator or whatever. Okay, so of course, this will be our test and practice app. It doesn't need to be your final thing. Okay, you can start a new one. That one will be the one you will deliver, and this is just to play around. So there are lots of stuff actually to talk about here, but we will learn what's enough for us to continue. So this is how you start when you want to create a Windows Forms application. So this is the form. Okay? So look at Visual Studio. So Visual Studio itself is a Windows Forms application. So this is Visual Studio. This is the form of Visual Studio. It has buttons, it has views, it has drop-down lists and menus. Okay, so that's exactly what you can do here. So this, see here, this thing that's called Form 1. Okay, that's your application. Okay, for now it's empty. Okay, because it's new, but that's where you can work and make your uh, whole program. Okay, so for example, let's take a look at the real calculator. So this is the real calculator. This is the form of the calculator. Okay, you can see that it has a place to show you the results. It has few buttons. Each one represents a number. Then there is, for example, a plus button, an operation number. Okay, and then you have this small one that's showing you the whole operation. So we want to do something similar to this. So we need a set of tools to do that. So first thing, let's bring the toolbox from, so from view, you can find something called toolbox. So all Windows forms inside toolbox. Here you can find all the tools that you can use, like so many stuff. Like I worked with Windows Forms for years, and some of them I still didn't use. So the most common one, let's see the button one. So this is the button. Okay. And here's another button. And we need a place where we can write the numbers, for example, for our calculator. Okay. So there's something called text box here. Let's take another text box. Okay. There's something similar to text box, but called label. Okay. So how can I customize those? How can I change the names? So when you click on something, on any tool, okay, you can go to something called properties. So right click on it, okay, and go to properties. Properties also can be found in the view. It's here somewhere. Um, yeah, it's here. We view properties. Anyways, you can just access right away, right click properties. So what are those properties? So properties are two types mainly, okay? First, the appearance type, okay? Like how it looks like, what is the color of the font, what is the size of this button, what happens when your mouse stops on, no, sorry, no, that's the other one, okay? Uh, is it enabled? Is it disabled? Can you click on it? Okay, like so many things. The other one called the events. Okay, so see here those two buttons. One called properties. Okay, those are the properties mostly about the appearance. One called the events. So the events is the actions or what happens when, for example, like what's the important thing about a button? What's the important event about a button? is when you click on the button, right? That's the most important thing about a button. But there are so many other events. Like for example, what if you double clicked? What if you clicked with the mouse right button? What if you just hovered above this tool? Okay, what happens if you dragged this button? So like, see, all of those are events. What happens if you change the size inside the, for example, the program? Most of them you won't use, most like 90% of them you won't use, but they are there in case you need them. And of course, some events are more suitable for some tools. So for the button, we care mostly about the click button. Okay. So let's change some stuff for this one, button one. Okay. So I don't want it to be uh, button one. Button one. I want it to be like just plus, for example, or the word sum. So when you click on the button, go to properties. Okay. Among the properties, one important one is called text. Okay. So see the text here. This is the one that changes what's inside the text of this button. So here, for example, I can call it sum. Okay, and it will be changed here. You can also change the alignment of the text. So is it on the left? Is it on the right? Is it on the middle? Okay, you can change the font of the text. What font do you want? What's the color? Sorry. You can make it red, make it green. Okay. You can put an image inside if you don't want a text. Okay, so you can delete the text and insert an image. Okay, but it should, of course, be a suitable image. You can even insert a list of images. Okay. Okay, you can set maximum size. Another one which is important is called enabled. So enabled is this button enabled? Can the user click on it? So if it's false, you will notice that it's unclickable when you start your program. Okay, so this is something you can control while you are running your program. For example, like if the user did this, then disable this button. Otherwise, make this button enabled. Okay, so enabled, it's true or false, and it will allow you to prevent the user from clicking this button if you want. Okay, in many programs, sometimes you will see unclickable buttons. Like see this button here in Visual Studio itself. Okay, like those are buttons maybe only when you're working with something other than buttons. So that you will see those buttons now, see where I am pointing. Those are disabled buttons. Okay, enabled equals false. Okay, right here in Visual Studio. Okay, so it's very common to use enabled and disabled. The text is, and you can also change the name. So there's a difference between the text. So see the text inside is called sum. Okay, but what is the name of this button? Like if you want to reach this button in code, what's the ID, okay, of this button? What's its name? Okay, so you need to change it to something meaningful. So call it, for example, I like to call them first, what is the type, like button underscore sum. So when I want to reach a button, I just write the word button and underscore. Then I will see all the buttons I have. So button sum, this is how I refer to this button in code. Okay, but it has nothing to do with that text inside. Just be careful that text and name are different. Name is how do you refer to this button in the code. Okay. Now, if you ask me about some of those, some I will remember, some I won't. Some of them are actually even introduced later. Okay. So I don't know everything here. You can see like hundreds of events and properties, and even like see all of those tools. Like there are even other third-party tools that you can purchase. There's a company called DivExpress that makes like fancy buttons, fancy what they call them ribbons, I guess. You can even purchase more tools if you want to make your application better. And Windows desktop programming is still a thing. Like, for example, see everything around you, like Zoom. Okay, Zoom is a desktop application. Like, see Zoom. Okay, that's Zoom. Okay, this is a button. See this button start. It's disabled because my meeting is started already, so I can't start this. See, like, can you see what's? Can you see Zoom? Oh, yeah, maybe because Zoom won't show you Zoom. Okay. Anyways, they didn't expect us to lecture about Zoom itself. Okay, like let's see the calculator. Can you see the calculator? Okay, so see, for example, this is a button that's disabled, the MC, the MR. Okay, those are regular ones. So desktop programming is still very common. Slack itself, for example, is a desktop application. Okay, full of buttons and stuff. Firefox, for example. Okay, the email one. So you will find out that it's still a very common thing. Most people are shifting to web, yes, but many big companies they still have desktop applications. Okay, so this is of course all useless unless we can write code to say okay what is going on here. So let's first let's delete this one. Delete. So I want to write two numbers here. Okay, and I want to click the button sum, and then I want to put the result here. So speaking about basic tools, so label is just a label just to show you like a title or a small label of something. Okay, so it's something that the user can't change himself. Okay, it's just like a small title or a small sticker or a label or whatever. So let's call it in the properties of this label. Just click on it and notice that the properties now is about the label. The properties is no longer about the button. Okay, the properties will change depending on what you are clicking here. Okay, so notice this label. What is the important thing about the label is obviously what a text. And people usually don't click on labels or so you will notice that label is like one of the most basic stuff. All what you need is to change. So let's call it number one. Okay, like this is the where you enter the number one. Let's go to label two. This is number two. And you can even select both of them and you will see the shared things. So if you selected two of them using control, okay, you can change the color for both right away. Like, okay, you can see the shared things. So you can select multiple things and change the color. So this is number one. Number two, those are just labels to tell the user what to enter here. This is a text box. Text boxes are where users can enter text. And text boxes are a bit more complicated. So text box will contain a value that you can change. Okay. Text boxes will can be um, multi-line or a single line. So it can be like a paragraph, okay, or it can be a single line. You can make the text box for passwords. So for example, whatever you enter, it will look like stars or anything. You can make the text box just to enter numbers, okay? So you can pretty much control everything. You can say what is the max number of characters. So let me see. Max length. So for example, it's now 32,000. So I can say it's like 5 characters for some reason. Okay. So I want only to allow the users to enter 5 characters. Here also 5. Okay. Multi-line. That's if you want to make the users enter multiple lines. Okay. Or one line. So in terms of a calculator, we don't want multi-line. We only want one line. You can control the color of the text inside. What's the alignment? Okay, so let's see it in action. So what I want to do is I want to click start. Okay, so this is what I will see when I start. Just a second, it's compiling. Okay, so see this. This is my program. This is my exe. Okay, so now like when you open Visual Studio, you see forms, right? Okay, when you open my program, okay, you will see this window. So this is the output of what I did. So you will see it saying you like, notice how I can't enter more than 5 numbers because I set the max length to 5. And I want here to be like just this number. So what I want to do is when I click the sum, I want it to take the result from here and show me the sum here. So that's my desktop program. It's as easy as this. Okay. So I need to write code in this button that tells me, hey, take the text from here, sum it with the text from here, and put the result here. Okay, so when I say here, so those text boxes, each one of them has a name, right? Okay, otherwise, how would I refer to them in code? So when I click this button that I called button sum, I need to say something like, hey, take the number from text box 1 and sum it up with the number in text box 2, and please put the result in text box 3 or whatever the name of this one. So let's check the names. What's the name of this text box? See here. So it's called text box 1. That's how you refer to it in code. What's the name of this one? It's called text box 2. That's also how you refer to it in code. This one is called text box 3. So let's change their names to something meaningful. Okay, so we like, because very soon you will have so many text boxes, so many buttons, you can't just call them 1 and 2. Okay, you will be very lost very soon, and you won't be remembering what was the name of this, what was the name of that. So the first text box is called text box num1. Okay. Text box 2, let's call it text box num2. And this one, let's call it text box result. Okay. So I'm just changing the names, not the contents of them. Okay. Choose something meaningful so I can refer to them in code easily. Okay. So how do I write code here? There are multiple ways to write the code, but the easiest thing is if you want to write the click event, okay, what happens when you click a button, just double click on this button itself while you are like not running the program. Okay, like you are in offline mode now. So double click and it will take you to the code right away. Okay. Now, for some reason, so many students last time they removed this line that's called initialize component, and it will result it in like an empty form when you run your program. So please leave this form one initialize component, leave it as is. Okay, don't touch this line. Okay, so see this function. Okay, so it's a function. Okay, private void button sum. Okay, so do you remember what did I call my button? I called it button sum. So the function is called button sum click. So it is what happens when you click on this button. Okay. Now, those are the object sender and event args. Okay. Those are a bit of specific detail about what's going on, about the mouse pointer and the event thing. It's for now beyond of our knowledge, but it has to do with events and stuff. Okay. We don't really care about those. Like our code won't be affected most of the time by those two parameters. Okay. But you will use them very soon for a task that we will have. Anyways, we care about the code that we write inside this function. Okay. And this is the function that will happen when you click your sum button. Okay. So I can have something like var num1 equals int dot parse text box number one dot. So text box number one, okay, is a text box. So it has so many things, right? Okay, please focus here. Text box number one, okay, like this guy number two, those are text boxes. So there, it's a big thing. It's something that has a text inside. It's something that has a color, a size, right? It's something that it's enabled or disabled. So the text box class is a very huge class. But what do I need? What do I need the most from this text box? Do you need its size, its color, its
Value.
the, the value of the text inside? Okay, so that's what I need. So here I can say, okay, hey, give me the text. Okay, give me the text that's inside text box number one. Let's go to the text. What is the value, or sorry, what is the type of the value of this text?
String.
It's a string, obviously, like from here. Okay. So I'm saying, hey, this text box is a big thing, a nice class. Okay. You have so many stuff. Give me the text in it. Okay. And do you remember when we did this with console.readline? Okay. Let's do another one. So number two equals int.parse text box number two dot text. Okay, give me the text in text number 2 and make it a variable. Okay, now what should I do? I need to put the result of number 1 plus number 2 in what? What did I call this guy?
Result.
I called it text box result. So text box result dot text, the text in this text box will equal to what? Number 1 plus number 2. What's the reason? What's the problem here? Is saying I can't convert from integer to string. Okay, so how do I convert it to a string? Okay, converting to string is always the easiest thing. Okay, now if I just want to take the text as is and put it there, that's fine. But I want the text as an integer. That's why I need this conversion. It's very similar to console.readline, if you remember. Okay, console.readline was a string. So if you wanted to convert it to a number, that's when you needed something like int.parse. What was the risk about using int.parse?
Like when there are two dots or a space in between thing, it won't convert it.
If there's anything but a number. Okay, like what if I entered in, like here in text box, you can virtually enter anything. Like you can say Sarib, the number 1. Okay, now when your code is coming to parse it to an integer, it will have an exception. Okay, so one task that you will have is I want you to prevent the user from entering anything but numbers. And you will try to find a way for that. Okay, we'll talk about this in like very soon, but let's do this now. Okay, so this is what happens when you click the sum button. Let's see if it's working. Number 1 is 8, number 1 is 2 is 5. So the result will be 13. Okay, so please make sure it's working with everyone. Here's the code again. And let's take a look. Tell me if there's anything that's not very clear or not working with you. Let's make another button for the subtraction, okay? Um, design part, like this one. Like there's no code in here. It's just a design. Okay, so it's just a design and we changed some names and some stuff, okay? The actual code is in the CS file. So let's make the subtract operation. Okay, to make them minus operation instead of sum. So here let's have another button. Where's the button? And of course, make sure to change the names. So let's get another button. Okay, here. Let's call it sub. Okay. Also, let's make it blue. Okay. So I want, when you click on this one, to subtract those two numbers and show me the result here. Of course, it's very easy.
Mohammed, I don't know what I did, but there's a huge error sign that prevents me from opening the form1.cs.
Okay, can you share it? Yeah, you deleted the function, right?
Yeah, I deleted.
Yeah. So uh, the double click on this form1.designer.cs on the right. No, on the right, on the right. In Solution Explorer.
Like here?
Yeah, the one here. Yeah. Go to this code. Go down. There's a red line somewhere.
Oh.
Yeah. Open this region. It's called generated
Region?
code. Yeah. Yeah. I just press the plus button. Go down, down, down. Yeah. Okay. So just remove this line, the whole line. So you deleted the function. Yeah. Another one. Yeah. Go down more. Down, down. Scroll down. Yeah. Okay. Save. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. So this is something that happens when you delete codes. For example, let's assume that you double clicked on the label. So it will generate this function for you, right? Okay, now you notice that
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah, you will notice that I don't want a function when I click on a label. So let me just delete it. Okay. Now the problem, there's a definition for this function. There's an event somewhere, and it will prevent you from seeing. So what you need to do is to go to the designer. find this line where there's a red dot and remove it. You did it twice, obviously. Okay, and now it comments. So if there are designer issues, you need to go to designer.cs and search for errors here. Okay, like eventually, like you were changing the color, the size, the alignment, right? Okay, like it was in a place, in a properties place, yeah, but eventually everything should be a code. Okay, like C# will need a code to work, to know what is the color you want. So while you were playing with the properties, okay, there is a generated code that's being generated for you. Like look at this one. It's called label 2, that's the size, that's the number. Something called textbox number 1, that's the max length, that's the location of it. Okay, so everything is being generated while you are working with the properties. So if you messed up anything, you need to come and fix it here. Okay, now you may get to the point where nothing is showing up. Like when you start your program, okay, it's just like this. So the problem is you don't have the initialized component. For some reason, you removed it. Okay, so those are the two common mistakes beginners usually have. Okay, so today is August 17. God. Okay, so let me do the subtract. Subtract. Okay, so right click on sub. Well, basically it's the same story, just minus instead of plus. And let's see it's in action. Oh, notice that it's called button 1. I didn't change the name, so I should have changed the name. So it's still called button 1. So here, this one, 9 minus 4 equals 5. Okay, so it's a very huge difference from console applications, actually. Like you can do everything we did with console applications. Okay, you can do it here again, but with forms, with letting the users see what's going on, with more interactive stuff, way different than just like it's basically the difference between DOS and Windows. Okay, so that's how Windows started. Okay, so there are many tools that we will look on very soon. But for example, one nice one is the menu. Menu strip. So in the menu, once you take, it's called menu strip. Once you take it here, you will see something like, oh, I can write file. Like I can have the new. open, can have exit. Here I have edit, just like copy, search. I have the about. I can, so inside each menu, you can create a menu. I can have help, dates, yeah, just like that. So see, when I start my program, I will have this menu now. File, edit, date, just like any real program. And now you can set what happens when you, for example, click on something. So for example, if you want to say what happens when you click on new, you can right click. Okay. You can say, yeah. You can say like textbooks one the text equals just empty, textbooks number two the text equals empty. Okay, so for example, let me start, and I have some operation or subtraction. Then I want a new one. That's okay. Of course, it's very simple. Okay, that's not a Visual Studio or a Zoom, or but it's a good start. Okay, now the thing is, you have your um, foot on the like the first step. Okay, on the first step of the road. Okay, now it's like the limitations are like the endless, like there's no limit to what you can do in those tools. Okay, you can have we will see like more of those tomorrow. Okay, but this is just a start, and I really recommend that you play around a bit with it, try to do some cool things. Eventually we need to reach a point where we create something similar to this one. Okay, so instead of two text boxes, we need one. We need also to prevent the user from entering multiple things. We will also work with binaries. So we will convert from decimal to binary and from binary to decimal. So we need a lesson to talk about what is binary, how to work with binaries, okay, and why they are important. Okay, things like this. But we can go slowly since this is supposed to be a lightweight program after all. Okay, so this was our start regarding this one. We'll continue the day. You can either work with those, practice more, try to explore it more, okay? Or you can work with a project that is due tomorrow, okay? You have the option to work on this. So if you are still trying to do your work there, you can continue with that, okay? And Zach will be in touch with you about the lab. Okay, after the break, we won't have a class. Okay, as we said, this week, sorry, our class is extremely lightweight. Okay, every day we'll learn something amount like this. Okay, and we will work on our like tomorrow, for example, we will learn something new and we will start working on our calculator project. Okay, by the end of this week, we will have the project ready. Okay, any question? I have a meeting at 10. So if you sent me any question, I may take like half an hour to answer. Yeah, Yushin. Well, it it should be on time, but I can ask Zach to make it 12:30 if you like, guys. If that's better, so you can end the day quickly. Is this something you are interested in? Okay, I'll message.
But Zach would need time to eat lunch, right? Poor thing.
Yeah, after lunch, 12:30.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and Zach doesn't eat. Also, like we hired him because like he doesn't eat. He doesn't just work.
I have another question.
Yeah,
So
Zach is
you said
actually a
we are going
cyborg.
to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
very well made, by the way. So if